So when you complete high school, where are you headed?
Where I was headed where I thought I was going to head, and that was to a university to play basketball.
Hmm.
Uh, that's what I was an All American in basketball in high school, and that didn't work out. So I called Larry, and I say I'm not getting the offers that I need. I feel that it's good for me. I say, ask Coach Merritt, is that scholarship offer still stands? And he said, I'll do that. So Larry spoke with him, and Coach Merritt said yes. So they mailed me a scholarship, and I signed it to play football. So in 1968, I got all these write-ups and all this stuff. You know, where is Robert going to play? Is he going to play at the University of North Alabama, Alabama A&M? Where is he headed? I thought I was headed out to Texas, but they had a better recruit in mind. So that's what turned me to Tennessee State. So I called Larry, like I said, and I got the scholarship to Tennessee State. So I packed the Foot Locker, got on the Greyhound bus, and I reported to Nashville back in May when they opened summer camp of 1968. And
What were your feelings? Was this because I mean, here you are, you want to be on the hardwood, as you said, you want to be playing
yeah,
basketball. And I mean, you're still
well,
to
I had I had that, and fortunately, Tennessee State had just hired a new basketball coach, Ed Martin, and I had one canister of film. I don't even know where that film is today or what happened to it. I took it with me because I've always had it, and I took it with me. So during the time I had a break from my football workouts at Tennessee State, I went by and met with Coach Martin and gave him my canister of films. So went on my freshman year. I was redshirted, so I was still practicing and all. So came down to end of the season. Coach Martin called me in and he said, "The season is over. Why don't you come to practice?" So I said, "Okay, I'll come." So he was still having tryouts, and I went after practice. About two or three of us from the football team went to basketball practice, and uh, kept going. And come to find out, uh, I had made the traveling squad with the basketball team. So that was that was the dream right there. And I packed my bags and we went on a trip because I never made a trip with the football team because I was redshirted, never had the opportunity to travel. So I traveled with the basketball team and didn't tell any of the football coaches that I was on the basketball team because our first game was on the road. So we got back and I was at practice, finished basketball practice. And Coach Barrett called me in and sit down and talk with me. And we had a talk. And he said, "You up here on a football scholarship?" I said, "Yes, sir." And you made the basketball team? I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, that's good." And he said, "I'm happy for you." Uh, he said, but I'm gonna have to put you on the JV team." I said, what? So he explained to me if I played with the regular group, I'll lose a year of eligibility in football.
Oh.
So it was a football scholarship that I signed, and he was. I truly understood where he was at, and Coach Martin at the time didn't have any scholarships. So I said, Coach, I understand. So I played and practiced basketball with the varsity, and played JV basketball, which they had a JV team at the time. And when they played, we played because other teams had JV teams, and that worked out pretty good. I was doing pretty good with that, and so after the basketball season, I went in and had to sit down with Coach Martin, and he said he'd like for me to continue to come and participate. And I told him that my focus now was going to be full time on football because it's going into my second year, and I got to make this football team because you have to sign that scholarship every year. Back when I played, you had to sign every year. You didn't get a 4-year automatic. So me and Larry sit down, and I said, man, he said, I understand. I said, I got to go back. So went back and was never left, but I just had to give up that dream of playing on the hardwood and being out on the dirt, and which didn't bother me very, very much. But at the time, both Larry and myself, we both played defense. Mm-hmm. Larry was a defensive tackle. I was a defensive end. So that was going pretty good in my second year of spring practice. I had a pretty good spring, and me and Larry used to cut up, and I used to tell him I'll meet you at the quarterback. So that went pretty good. So we had pretty good. And the thing about TSU and all that, Larry set the standard. It was very easy for me because he was there, and it made it very comfortable. Right. And I ended up being in the room with one of his best friends, so that helped a lot. And the struggle, maybe in the classroom and on campus with different things, you could always go to Larry. Larry was always there, and that was a big savior for me. And you see him right there behind me on that picture. So.
I was about to say, like, I noticed so early on, I'm like, well, look right over your shoulder.
Yes, that's him. And you know, we went through that. Larry went through that, and by being brothers and on the same team, but it worked well, and eventually Larry was doing well. Larry was playing defense well, and I think going into that fall for the season, my head coach had a dream, and he picked me up at the dormitory and told me to take a ride with him. I said, okay. So I got in this big long Cadillac. He had a big old long cigar, and we went for a ride over Nashville. And he had to talk with me that he had the dream that I was an offensive lineman. I said, what? I said, I'm a defensive end, coach. He said, no, Robert, you're an athlete. And I said, what? You're an athlete, Robert. You can do anything. So he said, look, the team needs you. And he pointed out all these young men need you. Larry needs you. And we need you to back up this All-American, that offensive tackle. I said, but coach, I won't get to playing behind an All-American. Mm-hmm. He said, yeah, you'll play. You'll play. I said, really? And learned that my playing time and learning how to play was in practice and competing and pushing and keeping that All-American at his standard and keep pushing him. And it was great. but everybody in practice wanted me to go against Larry.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Larry go against me.
Right.
Uh, we laughed it off, and because you're very competitive.
Yes.
Larry, hey, like I told him and he told me, I said, if you line up in front of me, I'm gonna knock your head off. That's just the way it is. That's the way we train, and that's what we have to do.
Right.
So we learned that, and we went through that, and we never had any problems, and we competed well, and we loved each other. Everybody on the team understood that we were all brothers. We was all in it for the same thing because of where we had came from and what we had been through, and where we was headed. It was a lot of people think it was easy. We practiced 3 times a day during the season,
Mm-hmm.
and it was learning, especially for me, switching positions,
Oh, for sure.
just playing 1 year in high school. But you know what, Sheree?
What?
Larry Dobie didn't play any in high school.
Right. So that's why I'm like,
So, and visualize this: Larry Dobie went on and was fourth round draft pick of the Detroit Lions in 1971.
man,
And that just, chills went all over my body. And I was so happy.
they still.
Yeah.
But how is that? I mean, so let's backtrack a little and then get to how that is. Like, if you feel like you're in the shadow of Big Brother, or how that dynamic goes, because he's setting the bar. Like, he's definitely setting the bar. But
That,
Tennessee State University is an HBCU. Okay,
right.
Gracefully Black College. So but that does not mean that you don't have at that point then minorities in another sense. But was your entire team Black?
Uh, not in total, not, we had one white guy,
Majority though. So,
Rudolph. He was from Nashville and never was looked upon as a white guy.
mhm.
And he was treated, and he loved where he was. Even though he lived in Nashville, went home, didn't go home very much, stayed right there with us, and just part of the family.
Mhm.
And that's athletics teach you that. You don't look at, oh, he's white and he's that. It's always taught you you're equal
This
and
is
you compete.
this is like remember
And
Bidens. Like, you lived. Like, remember this.
and
That's
we was just one. We was one big family. Even though he was the only bright spot, light spot, we
right.
never looked at it that way. And it worked out pretty good. And the level of competition, we was we had really we competed harder against each other than we did against our opponents, and that's what made us better. That's what made us compete because I knew, Larry knew, if you slipped in, the next person behind you in the rotation, you had to go back to the bottom to try to work your way back up. And that was a good teaching from our coaches. And we kept competing, and we competed very well with each other and against our opponents because the HBCUs that we competed against, Jackson State, Mississippi State, Southern, Florida A&M, uh, on and on. These guys had top-notch people going in the NFL constantly, Grambling. And the thing about it, Cherie, once you got on that bus, we traveled on one bus, packed like sardines.
Mhm.
And everywhere we had to go by bus. But like if we go to Grambling, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a long trip, it wasn't a hotel waiting on us, Cherie. We had to sleep up under the stadium at HBCUs back in the 60s, back in there when we was participating back in the 60s. And eventually it got a little better. But back then we had to sleep in each other's stadium when we visit each other. And that was something a lot of people don't realize or know went on back then. That's what we had to do because of integration and the black and white thing. That's what we had to do to compete as HBCUs and the situation that we was in and what we went through. And that's what they taught us. All HBCUs knew that we didn't have the type of equipment, the type of resources that our opponents had, the weight room, the workout facilities, the travel, and that just made us compete harder. And we, as TSU tackles, we represented all across the United States. And the coaches gave us a great opportunity, Cherie. You got to realize our first airplane flight for myself, for Larry, and a lot of other players, we flew out to Los Angeles, California to play Alcorn A&M. And one of the, in the Coliseum in Los Angeles, California. That was a big treat. So we had some eye-opening experiences and growing experiences and life experiences, and I think we grew pretty well. We grew pretty well.
Watching this, listen, are you listening? Even for myself, I'm thinking a moment like, man, I had it hard. Or
Yeah.
I'm looking at the boys like, you just don't know, and I'm sure, obviously, that's how you look at me as your child. But that's some type of work ethic for starters.
Yeah. Well, you know where it started. It started in Rogersville, Alabama. The cotton fields, you had to, at an early age, Larry was 2 years older than I was. And I was, let's just say 6, and Larry was 8. We had to chop cotton on the same row from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And then when that cotton grew up and bowed out into that white stuff, we had to go pick it. So we was on the same row from the same time, 6 in the morning to 7 in the evening. But, we was taught, even though we had our chores to do, you had to get up and do your chores before you go to the field. When you came from the field, you had to do those evening chores, and you had to do whatever had to be done around the house. So we had that work ethic. We was taught that. And one thing my mom and dad told us, and now, if you don't go and stay and do what you need to do, this is what your life is going to be, the cotton field. And I learned at an early age.
That's not what
I couldn't do that. And just worked hard.
Incredible.
Maybe didn't have all the ability a lot of other athletes had, but they didn't have that work ethic, and that's what we come up under, and that's what we was able to do.
And it sets you apart.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer of, even as much talent as people have, if you're a lazy, talented person,
you won't work.
It's not going to work.
It won't do it. Yeah. You got to put the work in, baby. Whatever you do, you got to put the work in. And
so much happens still in your life, but I'm glad you're sharing these moments that some of them, a lot of them, I don't even know or haven't heard. But I'm glad I'm taking it in, even in the space I am in now.
You sit back, and I look at it, and not like I say, Larry went in the 4th round in 1970 and 71, and something went over me. I just sit and say, hey, I can do this. I saw other guys being drafted, and I say, and John Merritt said, you can be an All-American. And I played really 2 solid years of college football, and that was offensive line. I didn't play but 2 years at offensive line in college, and they pushed me, and I took it, and I put the work in, and I became an All-American in college at offensive line position, and they was telling me I was going to be drafted pretty high. I said, what? Yeah. I said, okay. So at the time, hadn't been drafted, I played in the blue and gray game in Montgomery, Alabama. And the coaching staff was the New York Jets coaching staff that coached us at the time. And played there, played with a lot of number 1 draft choices. And I enjoyed that. And came back from that All-Star game. I was picked to play in another All-Star game, All-American game in Chicago, Illinois. This game where you play against the winner of the Super Bowl.
Of the what?
And the team that won the Super Bowl?
Are you the Super Bowl?
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins.
No, the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl team that won the Super Bowl that year,
You played
back in 1970, 73, 72, 73.
for.
Listen to me now. Listen to this.
I
The
just,
NFL team that won the Super Bowl, they picked them college all-star players to play against that team.
in what?
I was one of those guys picked to play in that all-star game.
Don't I know this, Dad? What? Okay, go.
And that game was held in Chicago, Illinois, at the Chicago Bears Stadium.
Started playing again, right?
Yeah, and we participated against the Dolphins. We lost. So after that, I was off to the Jets. They picked me in the second round. I was off to New York, and wow.
2 years.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah. Even though I stayed in college 5 years, I really didn't get a starting position until my junior year, which was at offensive tackle. And it panned out like John Merritt said.
Well, dream.
I became an All-American, and I was drafted in the second round.
Off to New York from
Rogersville.